In my 23 years of military service, I moved all over the world. I moved to different cities and countries, and every time I made a move, I always had this little bit of anxiety because I didn't know what the customs were, what the traditions were of that location, and of course, I wanted to fit in. So, in this video, you're probably watching it because you're moving here to San Antonio, Texas, and this is your survival kit in order to assimilate into this culture flawlessly. Some of the things that we're going to cover today is what to do while you're here, what to eat, and then we're also going to let you know, or I'm going to let you know what you should expect from moving to San Antonio. After that, we'll touch on a little bit of traditions, and then my favorite, rules of the road, and then we'll end it off with some common words and phrases. So if that's the kind of information that you're looking for before you move here to San Antonio, this is the video you need to watch. So stick around, we're going to get to it right now. So as I mentioned, when you move here to San Antonio, there is going to be a ton of things to do. And the one thing that everybody always talks about, well, one of two things, is the Alamo. Is there a basement? I don't know. When you get here, you'll be able to find out. But the Alamo is actually part of a series of missions that line the entire city. They actually go along the San Antonio River from downtown San Antonio all the way to the south side. So if you're a history buff, you're going to be in for a treat because the missions are jam-packed with history. And in order to understand San Antonio and the way we operate here, you have to go visit the missions. So that's definitely a place that I recommend you go. The second place is going to be the Riverwalk. Not really. Everybody likes to go to the Riverwalk, but the Riverwalk is for tourists. So if you're coming here just to visit, it's a place where tourists go to gather, and of course they eat, the food on the restaurants and all that. And are they good restaurants? Well, there's better restaurants in San Antonio. However, if you want to go to the Riverwalk, it is a nice place to go. The one time I will recommend that you go to the Riverwalk is during Christmas because they light up the entire river with Christmas lights, and it's just so dreamy. So you're gonna actually like going there. So if you like natural wonders, then you're gonna absolutely have to go see Natural Bridge Caverns. So San Antonio gets its water from the Edwards Aquifer, which is underground. The water just trickles through the earth and it gets filtered into the Edwards Aquifer. But in the process of getting filtered down into the aquifer, it creates these caverns that are magnificent. I remember being a child going on school trips to Natural Bridge Caverns, and I'm telling you, it is just so amazing how the water forms all these rock formations and makes it just look so beautiful. Natural Bridge Caverns has definitely got to be a place on your list. Hi, my name is Jesse Lopez, and I'm the owner of Blue Utopia Realty here in San Antonio, Texas. I've moved all over the world, and this is why I put this channel together, because every time I moved, like I said in the intro, I had some anxieties because I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know what the culture was or any of that stuff. So I decided to make this channel so I could be a resource to people like you moving here to San Antonio. So if you're moving here and you want to know everything there is to know about playing, eating, sleeping, breathing, and just being in San Antonio, what to expect, and all the things that we're covering in this video, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button and tap on that bell so you're notified every single time I put out a new video. I get phone calls from people like you every single day, and guess what? I'm waiting for your phone call. Don't hesitate. Call me, text me, send me a smoke signal. I'll answer them all. Know that I have your back when you're moving to San Antonio. So if you haven't done so already, hit the subscribe button. Let's get together. There's a QR code right here where you can schedule a one-on-one call, absolutely free. I'll answer anything you need to know about moving to San Antonio. And guess what? It doesn't matter if you're moving here in 3 days, 3 months, or 3 years. I'm still going to be here. This is my hometown. I sell real estate here, and I'd love the opportunity to help you as well when you're transitioning to San Antonio. So again, subscribe, give me a call. Let's get together. So let's go ahead and watch the rest of the video. If you're into the arts and museums, then you're not going to be disappointed because San Antonio is jam-packed with those as well. If you've watched any of my videos, I think it's this video right here, the one with Alamo Heights, and also I think I mentioned it during my video with the Pearl, but Broadway Street is just lined with all kinds of museums. So you have museums that focus on Texas history, the dinosaurs that were here before we were. There's one called the Museum, where it's an interactive child museum where you can take your children, and as they learn about science and about, just things, they can actually immerse themselves with their hands and play around. So that's a really cool one. If you have a child that's maybe from the age of 3 to maybe 11, 12 years old, they're going to absolutely enjoy that. The Whitty Museum, right up the road, the Whitty Museum is the one that actually focuses on dinosaurs and Texas culture. But the other museum, which is closer to my house, is the McName Museum, which is a fine art museum. They have events during, I think it's the third Thursday of the month. I'm not sure. I'll put the information down here, but it's a great time to go out there and just spread on the lawn, eat some food truck, some street food, excuse me. They come out of food trucks. Eat some street food and, listen to some live music. It's a very family friendly event that you can go to there. And of course, closer to downtown, you have the San Antonio Museum of Art, which is right by the Riverwalk, right by the Pearl. It's a great place to visit. Other things that you can do is there's theaters. So my eldest son actually was in theater, and he just absolutely loved it. And it's like that here in San Antonio. If you like the arts, there's also a place that I recommend that you visit. It's called the Blue Star Art Complex, which is in Southtown. The video for Southtown should be right here, or at least the picture is, and you can find it in the channel. So go take a look at that. Southtown. If you live, breathe, and are art, then I recommend that you live in that part of town. So what are some other things that we can do while we're here in San Antonio? So you can go into one of the bigger amusement parks like Six Flags, which is called Fiesta Texas. That's in the northwest side of San Antonio. It's got all the roller coasters, it's got the rides, it's everything that you want from an amusement park. But beware, if you're going to go during the summer months, that attracts so many people from out of state and out of the city that it's going to be, it's going to be fun, to say the least, to get in and out of Fiesta Texas and also to fight the crowds there. If you're into aquatics and you want to watch Shamu jump around and dolphins eat, then I recommend that you go to SeaWorld. SeaWorld is like Fiesta Texas, somewhere you can go and make it an entire day's event. Make sure that you pack some sunscreen, bring a hat, bring something to be comfortable, some drinking water, because you're going to need it. It gets really hot here in San Antonio, but if you have children or younger, adults, then that's going to be a great place for you to go. If that's not your thing, there's so many other things that you could do here in San Antonio, to include things like tubing down the Guadalupe River or the Comal River. That's not really in San Antonio, but it's a little bit further north. These hot days, like it is already hot and it's only May. We have temperatures 10 degrees above normal, which puts us at about 100 degrees. So yeah, get ready for that. And another thing that you can do is you can actually attend one of our sports events. So we have the San Antonio Spurs, which kind of sucked this past year, but guess what? We are diehard fans. We bleed silver and black. So if you're moving to San Antonio and you have a jersey from another team, you might as well throw in the trash because it's garbage here. So get yourself a San Antonio Spurs jersey, get on the bandwagon, let's support the Spurs, and guess what? You'll thank me for it. It's just an amazing time to go watch our San Antonio Spurs. If you're not into basketball, we also have a minor league baseball team, which is the San Antonio Missions. Coincidentally, we have a lot of missions, so it's the San Antonio Missions, and they also have an alter ego that turns into the flying chanclas. And if you don't know what a chancla is, it's basically a flip-flop. In the Mexican culture, whenever you're growing up, if you don't listen, it is not uncommon for your mother to grab her chancla and swing it at you and either hit you or throw it at you, and that's where the flying chanclas come from. So it is an inside joke. If you grew up Mexican and you had your mother throw you chanclas, do me a favor, comment below, because I'd love to hear the funny stories. And then other things that you can do, there's just so many things that we always have festivals. We always have, things that just highlight different cultures. So it's going to be a really great time for you to come to San Antonio and just immerse yourself. The one thing that I don't want you to do is I don't want you to be a hermit and stay indoors. because that's not where the fun's at. The fun is outside, out of your house. So get out, have fun, and you'll definitely love living here. So once you move here, what can you expect? Like, what is it like living in San Antonio? Well, let me paint a picture. I already talked about the Spurs, so everybody's a Spurs fan. You're gonna see graffiti all over the city, paying homage to the San Antonio Spurs. But other things is like we're crazy about Easter. So this is a predominantly Catholic city, so a lot of people celebrate Easter. And one of the things to do during the Easter weekend is to go to a local park and stake your claim. Like people go, I think there's an ordinance like you have to be, or you can't go any earlier than Thursday at 5 p.m. to go stake a claim on a piece of public park, in order for you to enjoy it that weekend. And people literally will sleep overnight for days just to secure that. That is San Antonio tradition. Families love doing that. They love getting together at the park. It's a great time. Like everybody's just very respectful and just has a great time barbecuing, Easter egg hunting, and all that good stuff. So other things that you could expect is the heat. As I just mentioned a minute ago, is that it's already hot. So we're in May right now. We're in the latter part of May, and it's already 100 degrees. If you don't like the heat, don't come here, because it's going to be hot. Like, this is what we live for. It's always hot. It's always humid. You're going to be sweating. I actually had to buy short sleeve shirts because I start to sweat just being outside. I don't have to be doing anything. I'm just standing there and I start sweating. So that's how hot it gets. But the good news is there's things that you can do in order to alleviate that heat. There's a ton of splash pads in San Antonio. I'm going to put a link down below with all the splash pads that you can go visit. If you have a child, or if you're your inner child, go into one of these places like Yanaguana Park. You have the Pearl. I mean, there's just all kinds of splash pads that you can cool down in and just have a great time. And most of those places are in areas where you can actually grab a drink. So let's say you don't want to go into the splash pad, and you have a child that wants to go play in the water. Let them go play in the water, grab yourself a drink, and then have fun, sit there, watch them as they enjoy the water. Because you know what? They're smart. They're getting wet. They're cooling down. You're just drinking something cold. So, well, I hope that this information that I'm giving you is bringing you a ton of value. Like I said previously in the intro, like, this is what I do. I like helping people. I like, placing them or giving them advice of where to live and, things that match their lifestyle. I say this all the time. Like, I could find you a house in any neighborhood. That's not what's important. What's important is that you find a place that fits your family and your lifestyle and also fits your budget. So if that's something that you want and you haven't already done so, hit this QR code right here. Let's schedule a call. Let's get on the phone and discuss what your needs are. I can answer all your questions. And the best thing is, it's at no cost to you. Like, I do this because I love San Antonio. I love helping people. Being a servant is ingrained in my being because I served for 23 years. So that's all I know how to do. Help me out by calling me. Help me out by sending me an email so I can help you make your smooth move to San Antonio a reality. All right, so let's go ahead and check out the rest of the video now. Other things that you could expect when moving here to San Antonio is hearing Spanglish. And I know, like, what the hell is Spanglish? Well, Spanglish is when you start a word in either Spanish or English, and then you end it with the other language. So I would not dare try to say this right now because I'm probably going to mess it up, but you'll hear it. You're going to be like, what did they just say? Vamos a go eat. That sounds dumb. But anyway, you get the point. You start something in Spanish, you end it in English, or you do it in English, start in English and end it in Spanish. It's very common here. If you don't like it, guess what? Get over it. You're in San Antonio now. That's just one of the things that you could expect. Another thing that you could expect is somebody somewhere is going to try to shove Big Red down your throat. And you're probably wondering, what is Big Red? I don't know. It's a red drink, and I can't even tell you what flavor it is. It's just Big Red flavor. If you've never had a Big Red, do me a favor. The first weekend you get here, go find yourself a Molino and buy yourself a barbacoa taco and drink a Big Red with it. You're going to love it. So those are some of the things that you could expect when you're here. I mean, we have mariachis walking all over the place for no apparent reason. There's always, a festival going on. There's always music. People are happy. And yeah, you're going to absolutely enjoy living here in San Antonio. Now, speaking of happy, here's one place that people are not happy, and that's on the road. We have some of the worst drivers, so let's cover rules of the road so you don't get into any trouble yourself. The first thing is blinkers. They're absolutely optional. Nobody's going to use their blinker when they move from one lane to another. They're just going to move. So if you're waiting for a blinker, get over it. They're not going to turn on their blinker. And just be aware, don't be in anybody's blind spot, because like I said, they're not going to use their blinker. But if by chance they do use their turn signal, they're going to signal and they're just going to move over. They don't care who's behind them. In their mind, they're like, hey, I turned my signal on, move out of my way, and here they come. Another thing that you're going to be aware of as far as rules of the road is the slow lane is usually a lane where oncoming traffic enters the highway. And if you're on that lane, you're going to impede people coming into the highway. So stay off that lane, all right? But you're going to find that a lot of people like to just sit on that lane and just go at one speed. They don't care if you're coming on or trying to get off. They're absolutely just going to sit there and keep you from coming on or getting off the highway. So the best thing you could do is speed up. That's why you have an accelerator. Speed up. Don't worry. Nobody's going to pull you over for speeding. They understand that you're just trying to get in, right? If you don't get in, you're going to be facing some real stress and you're going to really hate San Antonio. So definitely just speed up, get in traffic, and be like the rest of us. And while you're on the road, you're always going to get directions from someone. If you ask for directions, this is what you're going to get. Hey, it's on Bandera outside the loop. So what are they talking about? So San Antonio has two rings around San Antonio. The inner loop is Loop 410. It's always referred to as the loop. And then on the outer ring, you have Loop 1604, and most people are going to refer to that as Loop 1604. So if you're asking for directions and somebody tells you it's on Bandera Road outside the loop, they mean outside 410. If they say it's outside 1604, then obviously that makes sense. It's outside Loop 1604 or inside, doesn't matter. But know that the loops are referred to as the loop, which is 410, the original, and then Loop 1604, which is the outer ring. There's another, it's not a ring, but it's kind of another road, which is Highway 46, which is a little bit further out than Loop 1604. So be ready to hear those words. Inside the loop, outside the loop, inside Loop 1604, outside Loop 1604. And then a couple of other things as far as rules of the road go. Yield signs, they're just ornamental. Nobody pays attention to yield signs. They just blow right by them. Don't worry, that's just common. And then stop signs, they might as well be yield signs because nobody uses those as well. Every time you approach an intersection, it doesn't matter if it's a busy intersection or a residential intersection, slow down, look around, and then proceed with caution. I remember when I was younger, I was driving down a main road in the south side of San Antonio, going like 35 miles an hour, and I literally got T-boned by a female who just didn't even stop. Like, she didn't even hesitate. She just kept going on the cross street, and bam, I got T-boned. Boy, I was ready to just throw down with her, but I didn't, right? Because two cholos jumped out of the back of the car, and I was like, hey, what's up, guys? All right, have a nice day. So yeah, they ran. I think they had warrants for their arrest or something. But anyway, you don't want to get into a traffic accident because, yeah, you just never know who you're going to run into. Get it? Run into. And then the last thing that I want to touch on about rules of the road is when it rains. You see, well, before I even tell you, San Antonio doesn't get much rain. And when it does rain, it kind of rains in series. So we get rain for a week and then it stops for a month. But when it does rain, especially when it just started raining, the roads get really slick because the oils get brought up to the surface and it can be easy to slip and slide. So you can fishtail and your car can get out of control. And for that reason, when it rains, San Antonio drivers don't know how to drive in rain. It's not really because they don't know how to drive. It's because the roads have all that accumulated oil, all the oils, and they bring it up to the surface and it gets pretty slick. So be careful when you're driving, especially if it just started to rain. Now, if it's been raining for 2 or 3 days, you're okay. But don't go too fast, because guess what? I guarantee you somebody on the road is going to be going 35 miles an hour on the highway when they should be going 65. So be careful, pay attention, and remember, rain equals bad drivers. So be cautious. And then finally, let's touch on a couple of phrases and words that you're going to hear in San Antonio. The first one is bear, like bear, right? It sounds like bear, but it's actually Bexar, which is the name of our county, Bexar County. Now, nobody really refers to it as Bexar County. I remember when I was living in Georgia, I was in Valdosta, and it was Lowndes County, and people always thought, hey, Lowndes County, and I was like, why are you referring to the county? And same thing with when I lived in Tampa. And instead of Tampa, they'd say Hillsborough County. And I was like, why are people referring to the county? Here in San Antonio, first off, Bexar County is pretty much encapsulated in San Antonio. So that's how big San Antonio is. But nobody really says Bexar County. There's sometimes that you might hear Bexar County or Bexar County Appraisal District, things like that. But it is pronounced Bexar, Bexar. There's another road that's called Hebner Road, and people chop that up all the time. So, just pay attention to those words. Listen to what people are saying, because if you pronounce it the wrong way, that's a telltale sign that you're not from here. Another one is Bernie. My wife and I are going to Fredericksburg today, and a friend of ours said, hey, meet us at the Bill Miller's in Bernie. Bernie is spelled Boerne. Doesn't look like Bernie, but it is Bernie. So those are three words that are pronounced differently than they're spelled, and it's because they have some German influence in them. Other things that you're going to hear are go Spurs go. Like, don't be surprised when you're in a crowd and people just start chanting, go Spurs go. Somebody either saw Spur, the Spurs are on TV, or maybe they just reminiscing about the Spurs, but they're going to start saying, go Spurs go. We love our Spurs. Did I mention that? Something else that might happen, and don't be confused when you're asked this question, is somebody might ask you at some point, what high school did you go to? Like, high school pride it runs rampant in San Antonio. And you can tell a lot about a person when they tell you what high school they went to. And it's funny when you ask somebody, because if you ask them and they're like, I went to Harlandale, that means they're not very proud of their high school. I, by the way, did go to Harlandale, just so you know. But if people are ashamed to tell you where they went, it's probably because it's a bad school. It either has a bad reputation, or it was in a bad part of town. And of course, some people are going to play it up. Like, I went to Alamo Heights. That's where my son goes to school now. And Alamo Heights is synonymous with, great programs, great education, and all that good stuff. So when people ask you, what high school did you go to? And if you're not from San Antonio, do me a favor, tell them what high school you went to and watch the confused look on their face. So they're like, where is that? But again, people ask you, hey, what high school did you go to? That's a way to identify, and that tells a lot about you. The neighborhood you grew up in, the kind of education you got, what kind of people you ran with. So it's just a funny thing to hear somebody ask you, hey, what high school did you go to? Because I've never experienced that anywhere else I lived in the world. During April, we have this big festival called Fiesta, or Fiesta Week. So Fiesta Week is a 10-day celebration. I don't know what we're celebrating, but we're celebrating. So it's 10 days of celebrating. And one of the events that is during Fiesta Week, Night in Old San Antonio. So some people pronounce it Niosa, like this guy. And some people call it Neosa. Crazy people. But those are the two words. It's the same thing, Night in Old San Antonio. It's basically a festival that they have in La Villita, which is the oldest community in San Antonio, Texas. Maybe one day I'll do a video about that. But That is what they're referring to, Niosa. If somebody says Niosa, ignore them. They're dumb. They don't know what they're talking about. Or maybe they're not even from San Antonio. So Niosa is another phrase you're going to hear more towards the April timeframe during Fiesta Week. And by the way, Niosa is a really great event to go to. So if you go, you're going to have lots of fun. Well, those are some of the phrases that you'll hear. Of course, there's others like family first, like big city, small town feel. Like you're gonna hear all these phrases, but here's the gist of it. You're moving to a great city. You're gonna have fun here. There's a ton of things to do, and guess what? You at least have one friend here, me. So when you move here, don't hesitate. Give me a call. Send me a smoke signal, send me a text. If you want to get together, you have a question about something, I'm truly a resource for you when you move here to San Antonio, Texas. So don't be afraid. There's a QR code here. If you have questions and you want help, you want advice, moving here to San Antonio, do me a favor, pause the TV, scan this code, let me know how I can help you. Let's schedule a call. Let's get on the phone and meet each other and help each other out, because that's what I'm here for. Ultimately, is to help you move into San Antonio, assimilate, and have a good time while you live here. So thank you for watching again. There's a ton of videos all over here that talk about different neighborhoods, different things that may concern you when you're moving to San Antonio. So don't be a stranger. Check them out, and we'll talk to you soon, or we'll see you in the next video.